What's going on, Star Wars fan?
Hello there.
We are back live. It is Wednesday. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We got a bunch of people on already. Greg, Lane, another Mike who loves Star Wars. And I also saw Steve up here.
Got Austin in there.
Yep, Austin, that guy B. Well, thank you guys for joining us. All four of us are back together this week. Very nice shirt. I like that. It's a cool.
Lane's asking about it. Need to get the store going. Get that store.
Yeah.
I'll
get
Ron,
with Nick.
Yeah, Ron might know a guy.
Yeah.
that could deliver to you.
Yeah. So, if you guys watched Mike's podcast yesterday, there's a little bit of news going on. I wanted to start off with just as we usually do, just a couple little things. Actually, just the one thing that I was sort of interested in, and that was Isaac talking about this. Oscar Isaac talking about possibly coming back. And I think, Mike, and I know you've talked a little bit about this on yours, but I think as we continue to get these things that are coming out with all these actors and actresses talking, I think that it's not a coincidence. And I think that some of these they're definitely fibbing. Let's not say they're lying or being dishonest. Maybe a white lie or something, or just straight up, you're lying because we know you're going to be in this. And I think it's interesting that we have had a bunch of these, Ewan's talking and Hayden's talking, and, we're getting new characters. And the two movies that, well, especially maybe not Starfighter so much, but the Rey movie, I would have to think that he's going to be in that no matter what. I mean, people are going to be pissed if he's not.
Yeah. Well, what I think's going on is for a couple of years after the sequel trilogy ended, all those actors were like, yeah, I'm good with Star Wars. Like, we're fine. And then I think around probably the time they announced the Rey movie, and at least talks were going around that they were going to do some post-sequel stuff, they probably reached out to all of them and were like, even if you're not going to say yes right now, just if you're asked about it, just like leave it open-ended or something like that. Because like you said, there's no way we're going to get a Rey movie or any post-sequel thing without Poe being involved, or without Finn being involved, and it not be weird if they're not there. So I hope that they're all just saying, oh, I'd be open to it because they actually are. And maybe they're already in talks to do something cool like that. But I don't know. We'll see.
I could see, even if the talks are just, what's your schedule look like, they are then bound by some kind of, lie if you must.
Yes.
The thing, because we're technically talking about it, whether they have anything planned or not.
NDAs are crazy.
Yeah, well, in the Frankenstein movies, or I guess that's going to be a series type of thing on Netflix. Obviously, he's busy doing that. But again, we have so many more movies that are coming out not right now. Someone like him, again, it's going to be, like you said, Nick, what are you doing 3 years from now? What are you doing in a year and a half? Can we get you on the set for this movie that's going to be released in 3 years? And Austin, I think you're right. The money is there, Austin. But I think that they're starting to talk to these people and say, hey, listen, if you get interviewed, maybe if you want to say something about this, go ahead, because then that way it's getting out there. People are talking about it like us. So I think that could possibly be something that's going on, and we might see some more people, the whole Gina thing, everything that's sort of come out right now.
Well, for the sequel characters, though, when Austin talks about money, yes, you got to pay them a lot to come back just to deal with being in Star Wars. But you also, because of the way the sequel trilogy went with the division in the Star Wars fandom, they're not going to want more of that. So you're going to really, especially with John Boyega, you're going to have to give him like this incredible offer of like the idea for the movie. It's well thought out. It's a great story. And then he'll be like, okay, now give me all the money too. So it's both. Like, it's not just pay me all the money, because they won't be in a crappy product. Not after the backlash, especially that John Boyega got for the sequels.
I don't know. Everyone's got a number, I think.
Well, I guess the optimistic side of myself says hopefully there's a good story along with it.
I think Jimmy Smits had a number, and then he had a conflict.
I don't know, because he came back for Rogue One, and I feel like it wasn't like bad blood there. I don't think Rogue One was a success.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that he was busy doing something else, because I think he would have enjoyed coming back.
Yeah,
I think,
he was in Kenobi too.
yeah,
That wasn't that long ago.
and that was the thing that was sort of weird for me, just because watching Andor like that and then going right into Rogue One and seeing him again, we have to put on our I guess our headcanon or our blockers and just say, hey, this is the way that it's supposed to be, or this is the way that it's going to be. So, you know, it is what it is. What's going on, Tim? Thanks for joining us. In reference to talking about Bail Organa, we talked a little bit earlier. I don't know if you guys watched or you saw any of my posts today. This is sort of like a free for all. We're just talking, and while I was thinking about things to talk about and seeing what the guys were going to bring up, I watched Mike's his what I guess short today, and it's a deleted scene with Mon Mothma in reference to the politics, and I'm going to play it. It's almost about 2 minutes. I got the little bit longer version, but I'm going to play it, and I want us to talk about it, because I think it definitely should have been in there. If you haven't already seen it, you'll see it here, but also check Mike's out, because he has a little bit different touch on it as well, and you know, comment on it. But it's really cool, and I think probably most of us here have seen it, because we are more than normie fans. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll talk about it in a minute.
Now that he has control of the Jedi Council, the Chancellor has appointed governors to oversee all star systems in the Republic.
When did this happen?
Oh, that decree was posted this morning.
Do you think he'll dismantle the Senate?
Why bother? As a practical matter, the Senate no longer exists.
The Constitution is in shreds. Amendment after amendment.
We cannot let 1,000 years of democracy disappear without a fight.
What are you suggesting?
Suggesting? I apologize. I don't mean to sound like a separatist.
We are not separatists trying to leave the Republic. We are loyalists trying to preserve democracy in the Republic.
I can't believe it has come to this. Chancellor Palpatine is one of my oldest advisors. He served as my ambassador when I was queen.
Senator, I fear you underestimate the amount of corruption that has taken hold in the Senate.
The Chancellor has played the Senate as well. They know where the power lies, and they will do whatever it takes to share in it.
And we cannot continue debating about this any longer. We have decided to do what we can to stop it. Senator Mon Mothma and I are putting together an organization...
Say no more, Senator. I understand. At this point, some things are better left unsaid.
Agreed. And so we will not discuss this with anyone without everyone in this group agreeing.
That means those closest to you, even family. No one can be told.
Agreed.
I mean, such a freaking intense moment. It really is. I think, and I'd like all four of us to put our 2 cents in, and you guys on the stream, please put your 2 cents in as well. And what do you think that should have been deleted, or do you think it would have been great in there in the chat? Let me know what you think about that. But I'll go first. And I said a little bit to Mike about this when we were chatting about it. It's how Jimmy stands up and he starts to get very emotional about it. He's talking with these other, I guess there's Mon Mothma, Padme, and the other three, so he's just letting them know what's going on. And then Padme is just like, okay, no, I don't want to know anymore, which I think would have been interesting if we would have had a little bit of some of that, even a back scene or a backlash, whatever you want to call them, in reference to having something like that in Andor. If they moved it out of, the movies, put it in Andor so we can see a little bit of it. And like Mike was saying, the politics, when the prequels first came out, people were like, oh, we don't want to know about the politics. We just want lightsabers and Darth Vader and all that stuff. But now that we have Andor and we've been building up and we have all these things going on, the Bad Batch, some of these political things that are going on, I think it's just phenomenal that we were able to take that. And now, 20 years later, people are like, oh, we want the politics. We want this stuff. And I think this is a phenomenal part that should have been left in the movie. And what do you guys think?
I totally agree. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Dad.
My question is, it's part of the story. It was cut out of the movie, but that's still canon, right?
Yeah, I think it's in
Yeah.
the novelization, so it's
Mhm.
some level of canon. Yeah.
Yeah, those events still happened. They just didn't happen on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They happened up here.
The only
True.
I will say, like, the only time that a canon thing like that is surpassed by the movie is if they do a scene in the movie that differentiates from
Yeah.
the novel, right? So for all intents and purposes, that happened. Like, that's a real moment. Consider that,
Yeah. And Austin says, I'd love to hear the thought process why George cut it. Honestly, can't speak for George, obviously, but Revenge of the Sith is already a really long movie. I don't know the exact runtime, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the longer Star Wars movies.
2.5.
Yeah, it's got a long runtime. It has to hit the important pieces, and it's the tragedy of Darth Vader. It's Anakin falling to the dark side. You have to end where the story ends. In that scene we just saw, although it is really cool and it's very important to even the Andor series, it's not that important to the major story of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and the Jedi Order 66. So I think a lot of scenes, because Revenge of the Sith was supposed to be, like Nick was saying, 5 hours or even longer, it needed to cut down to 2.5 hours. Like, there had to be scenes that didn't make the cut, even if they were really good, like this one. But when I look at this scene, obviously and it ends on Padme, because it's supposed to be like when Mon Mothma says you can't tell anybody, even your closest family or whatever. That's in reference to Anakin. Like, that's not in reference to her in the future in Andor, but that's in reference to her, Padme, not telling. Oh, where'd I go? Not telling Anakin. For some reason, my camera does that every once in a while, where it just goes black for a couple seconds. But I know it comes back, so whatever. But it's in reference to her and Anakin. And it plants some seeds of, like, Padme keeping secrets from Anakin, and then of course it erupts on Mustafar with liar and all that. But when you look at it now, 2025, watching that deleted scene, when Mon Mothma says you can't tell your family, you can't tell anything, and then you watch Andor, she doesn't tell her husband, she doesn't tell her daughter about any of this stuff she's doing with Luthen or the rebellion or any of that. And when she leaves Coruscant in Andor season 2, she doesn't say anything. She just leaves. Doesn't tell her husband, doesn't tell her daughter, who she married off for the betterment of the rebellion. Like, she doesn't do any of that. So now, after Andor, that scene is so much more impactful. That's happened before. A lot of scenes become more impactful after more content's added to it. But a deleted scene like that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Greg says it. Sorry, Greg says exactly that, and Tony stayed true to that in reference, just like you said.
Yeah.
Leaving, not telling family, just sticking it out, and I'm out of here. And I think that's a good point. And yeah, and another Mike who loves Star Wars, you had a good point up here as well, in reference to what a great job she did, and she carried that character. And Mike was saying, which I guess I didn't realize either, she's not even in the movie.
No, all her scenes got cut.
That's crazy.
It is. And like, when they went to cast Andor, they brought her back. Like, they could have gone with anybody else. Like, Genevieve O'Reilly was cast for Revenge of the Sith, and she does look like Mon Mothma, but they could have gone with anybody else because she's not in the movie at all. But it is really cool now that she's back and she plays Mon Mothma, and everybody loves Mon Mothma and Andor. So it's like just the extra little cool things of those deleted scenes in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everyone. I wish it wasn't cut. And I do, so like I agree with Mike that editing's just kind of like a part of the game. Like, they have to cut things. We were talking before we went live that they cut a lot from the beginning of the movie, and even that whole sequence is long still, the whole rescuing the Chancellor bit. But what I would push back on a little bit, and you made this point, Mike, is that it does at least kind of tend to add more to Anakin's issues if you leave that scene in. The secrecy, him knowing something's up with Padme. I don't know where this would have played in the movie, but I would assume it'd be like right before, he kind of like looks at her in the living room like, what's up with you? And there's all these other things. I don't want to really get into it, but in the novelization, he thinks Obi-Wan and Padme are too close and all that kind of stuff. But there's another scene they cut that if they were going to keep the one we just watched, they should also keep that one to kind of like route this out with Anakin, because a bunch of them go to Palpatine in a committee in this, deleted scene and say like, we need to do negotiations and diplomacy for this war. We want to do this. And Palpatine's kind of an ass to him. And Anakin's literally just standing behind him as Vader would in the originals and doesn't say a word. Padme looks at Anakin like, are you going to help me out? Yeah. And he's just stone cold. And I think you keep both of them if you're going to keep one, because it's such a good little moment that didn't make it in, of like his kind of struggle. It adds another layer of the things that he's, I think, more so dealing with than just the fear of the visions. Like, I think he's been going through some things for a long time that manifest in those. So all that to say, I think keeping it in does add more to the Anakin thing, but it probably adds more time total too, because you have to weave all that in with all the things going on. So what are you going to keep? The stuff that you can streamline, what we got in the movie, or all the layers? You probably cut them out. But
and even like Zima said, I mean, there are movies out there that are 3 hours long, and yeah, you're probably not going to get the normie fans. Maybe they're going to look at it and go, oh my gosh, that's 3.5 hours. But I think there's enough Star Wars fans that are going to go see a 4-hour Star Wars movie. I mean, if they all released all these live actions all at once, we'd sit there all four of us would sit there for 8 hours and watch every single episode.
Yeah. Well, they had the opportunity to do something pretty cool because Lucasfilm could easily take a team and finish those scenes. Because it was the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith this year, they could have finished those scenes and done a super cut of Revenge of the Sith. I think, honestly, when George sold the company to Disney, he probably put something in there to say, don't mess with my movies. Because, as he has always said, like the reason he made the special editions in the 90s and doesn't want the originals to ever be seen again is because those are the way he wanted the movies to actually be. He just didn't have the technology at the time. So he really doesn't want those movies to be touched. He thinks that they're these perfect masterpieces, which they are, but those deleted scenes could find a home somewhere. Like even Ron said, even if in Andor they flash back to them at some point, that would have been kind of cool. Or I don't know. You could do something where you just do deleted scene. Like it's just one quick episode of all deleted scenes. I don't know, but that's probably the reason why they will never do that, a super cut of Revenge of the Sith or a super cut of Phantom Menace or anything like that. But just because George probably didn't want them to, which usually tends to be the case.
Yeah. Well, and I think you had a good point. That would have been a great time for them to put it out this year. Hey, go ahead, let's fix this up a little bit, because like we were talking about the director's cut for Justice League, it's 4 hours long.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd watch it again. I mean, it was fantastic. I thought it was great. So I think, again, all of us and everybody that's on this chat tonight or this podcast tonight would watch a 4-hour Star Wars movie, especially if it was something new that they were going to put into on the 20th anniversary. Boom, let's put this in there. And there's still, like we were talking about, even with Oscar Isaac, there's still rumors now that, George might be coming back. Oh, George is going to put his 2 cents in here, which I think he probably does with Dave and John when they're doing some of this, the Mandalorian or Grogu stuff, or in some of the Clone Wars or things like that. They probably ask. But again, you're probably right, Mike. He probably said, listen, this is sign on the dotted line, but you don't touch my movies. You just keep them the way you are, or the way they are, unless I come back and say, hey, yeah, let's do this. So it would have been a pretty cool thing.
Which could be beneficial to the future of the sequels, because he didn't make those. So if there's anything that might help to plug back into them that they cut for later on, might create, I mean, they should be able to do that, because he didn't touch him. So, that could present an opportunity to say, hey, maybe if you watch the supercut of this, where we kind of fill in some things we already tried to do and didn't leave in, maybe your relationship to this trilogy would be different. Who knows? I doubt they'll do that, but
Now, what if they did like a special thing where you had to go to a theater and you spent just an obscene amount of money to see it, and like they pat you down, you are not getting a camera in there, and
Yeah.
it never leaves.
yeah.
I do that.
And
What's
just have
your
it be-
obscene amount of money that you'd spend?
What's the max?
Because I know Ron and I had talked about doing the Star Cruiser, but it closed before we were able to do that. But there's certain things.
True.
So you're saying for like an original, like the first sit,
like
yeah,
the Lucas cut, probably.
yeah.
Yeah. That's tough.
I don't know what number.
How about a kidney?
Well, I only have one to work with, so
Oh, no,
Yeah,
for
I'm
you,
not going. Yeah,
I got two. I can spare one.
yeah.
Well, online now you do have these supercuts of like the Clone Wars, at least. Like they integrate the last 3 episodes of the Siege of Mandalore into Revenge of the Sith. So I guess you still already have something to that extent. Like you can watch the deleted scenes online. They're there. They're on YouTube. Lucasfilm isn't taking them down like they take down a bunch of other stuff because they don't want it to be seen. But they're up there. So it's just like, I guess, watching the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars takes place, or parts of it take place at the same time as the movie. So I don't know. I want all deleted scenes to remain in the movie. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them to be remain in the movie. It's just, it would be, I'm sure the movie wouldn't work as well if it was a 4-hour movie. Like, there's no denying that, I'm sure. It would be great for us hardcore Star Wars fans, but it probably wouldn't work very great for the normie audience.
I would settle for a release, or at least even now on Disney Plus, of all the content that used to come on the DVDs, like the deleted scenes, like the behind the scenes stuff. Revenge of the Sith has hours of that stuff on that DVD. And I think the only place, I'm sure it's all on YouTube now, but like if there was a centralized place that had all of that, where it's like, like explaining, you don't even need the canonical novelization depiction of Palpatine's fight with Mace Windu anymore when you watch like how they filmed it and what happened, because there's like there's like a half-hour long thing about how that went down, and now you can understand like, oh, originally I thought 3 Jedi Masters went down pretty quick, but now I understand why they had to do it that way. And there's tons of that stuff on the DVDs. I would settle for like a supercut version of that per movie, where it's like a couple-hour documentary with deleted scenes of just that content kind of pieced together in a way that was nice to watch.
Yeah, I do that too. Like, people who have the Blu-rays, I guess it would take away from them, but you have that content. Like, it already exists. It's already out there in the public, so why not just put it on Disney Plus? That'd be cool.
And just, clip it together documentary style.
Yeah.
They're like little mini docs in the DVD. So, make a couple big long ones for each film.
That would be awesome. I'd be down for that.
If anyone has access to a Star Wars DVD or Blu-ray that you didn't know those were on, check them out. It's awesome.
Yeah, they are. They're very. There's a ton of them on there, which is really cool. And like you said, that would be cool if they did come out with some other things like that. But in reference to that, talking, I'm still listening to Master and Apprentice, and we get so much more stuff like we've talked about with the sequels to help you understand. And in the one spot, and I was trying to look it up before you guys got on, but the thing that I forgot the name of it, but that animal that Obi-Wan rides, that like lizard thing that he jumps on.
Yeah.
So he actually, because I'm like, okay, yeah, he can use the Force and jump on, but I mean, in that he's like, he jumps on it and like rides it like a champ, like he's been riding horses for 20 years. But in this book, him and Qui-Gon go away, not to give off too much, but if you haven't read it yet, but it's been out for a while, so if you haven't read it yet, sorry. But he learns that he can use the Force, and he communicates with this animal. and it's able to do more things than he ever thought it could. And when he's talking to it and communicating with it, so if you some of these people that are like, oh, how come he did this and he shouldn't have done that, same with the Rey stuff. Oh, she picked up a lightsaber, or Finn picked up a lightsaber and they did this or did that. If you go back and watch some of this or read some of these things, it helps connect more with these movies, and some of these questions are answered with this stuff and with these books. And I think that's just so cool when we're able to do that. And I'm still learning stuff. I haven't read that book yet, and now that I'm reading it, I'm getting more interested in it. And Mike, like we've talked about, the sound effects, they use the sound effects that thing makes, so that's the animal that they're talking about. So now, boom, I can go right to that animal. I know what it looks like now while he's riding it in this book, and what he's doing in these adventures. And it's so cool to go back and go, oh, okay, this is why he was able to ride it so well. He was able to communicate with it with the Force, or whatever the case may be. And along with, Qui-Gon possibly becoming a member, or being asked to become a member, and why, and the conflict that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon had in reference to it. It's just such a cool thing that makes, because we only get to see Qui-Gon for a little bit, as we all know. Yeah. And it's such a cool thing to have him in this book pretty much as a main character. Him and Obi-Wan are the main characters in it, and we get to see a little bit more, we get to feel a little bit more and listen to a little bit more of Qui-Gon's sense of the Council, Qui-Gon's sense of the Force, Qui-Gon's sense of Obi-Wan, and what's going on with them. And I think it's so cool that we're able to do that. And those things are, I guess, is that canon, Nick?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Have you finished it?
I haven't.
Oh, shoot.
Well, that's cool. No, that's what's cool about the canon novels, and what I guess when Disney took over, they made a clear line between canon and non-canon stuff, legends, I guess. But yeah, because you can literally take an animation or in a novel or in a comic, take any little detail like that, Obi-Wan just riding that creature, and dive insanely deep into it in something else. I like the best one is the Sifo DS cloning operations, Kamino being missing in the archives, and like seeing that in Tales of the Jedi get explained. Like that stuff is so cool, because there's so much time, especially in the prequel trilogy, in between movies. Like we have 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, because there's 2.5 or 3 years in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. There's 10 years in between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. Like that's a long time, and that's like where a lot of novels take place. That one obviously takes place before that, because Qui-Gon is dead. But spoiler alert. Yeah, but it is really cool, because books, comics, and the animation stuff dives so much deeper into all the tiny little details that you just didn't even notice, or you've been asking questions about for years. Right. And like, why does Luke Skywalker end up on Ahch-To? Or how did Palpatine return? Like those questions, those will be answered, and they are being answered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and Evan has a good point too. Ezra, was able to connect with animals as well. And so again, if you're like, oh, well, how come you can do that? Hey, if you go back and be like, oh, okay, this is what Qui-Gon told Obi-Wan about this. And same with Sabine riding that, whatever that thing was in Ahsoka, she was able to, treat it like a dog or whatever, a horse, where she could ride it. But when she talks to it, it understands her, and she sort of communicates with it. So I think those are cool things that maybe we're not sure about, but you can find out, and it answers the question if you read the comics or some of these novels as well. And just like with Jacob, he continues to hand me these comics, and they got some really cool stories in there.
Well, Anakin does it on screen in Attack of the Clones in the arena to the big rhinoceros thing.
It has a name, the Force ability. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but not everybody can do that. Like it's not just a Force user, you can do that type thing. So Ezra being able to do that is really cool.
Well, same with the healing power, correct?
Healing power, yes. Well, I don't know. That one's a little bit up in the air. Yeah, we know Grogu can, we know Rey can, but that's because we don't know where Grogu learned it, but we know Rey learned it from the sacred texts, which is great. But there is other force abilities like that not everybody has, like Cal Kestis, Derek. The ability to the Force Echo, I think they call it in the game. Yeah, Force Echo.
Yep.
Like not everybody can do that, but Cal Kestis can. So that those things are very cool.
Oh, another Mike who loves Star Wars asked, "Is that my actual room?" Yes. Someday. No, this is
That would be
Oga's
awesome.
Cantina. You can see. Oh, wrong hand. DJ Rex. That's right there. So this is Oga's Cantina. So if anybody, me being the parks person, this is at the Disney parks at Galaxy's Edge, which this weekend is Destination D23. I don't think we're gonna get a Star Wars announcement. There are no panels.
Oh, Derek, let me
Really?
disagree with you.
I'll have to disagree with you as well.
but-
So no, go ahead.
But what I was gonna say, I don't think we're gonna get a parks announcement. What I could see is us getting either a sequel to Acolyte, where it's not Acolyte season 2, but there's something else, or a Skeleton Crew season 2.
I'd be down for both of those.
Yeah.
Well, just from what I've been seeing, at least for this weekend, a lot of reports that they're going to focus on films for everything, Marvel, Pixar, whatever, and Star Wars too. And the film is The Mandalorian and Grogu. So the only question is whether the trailer will be released publicly, because there's been 2 trailers to date, one at D23 last year, the very short teaser trailer that they showed because John and Dave came on stage and they were like, we want to show you something, even though we just started filming, and they showed the cool trailer. And then the one at Star Wars Celebration. Neither of those 2 trailers were released publicly, but they were both leaked out, as they always are. So, as I've been saying, I think that this weekend we'll get a Mando trailer. It's just whether it will be in HD or on a phone camera. It will definitely get one. I just hope that they release it publicly, even if it's a teaser, like Rise of Skywalker teaser, where it's just Palpatine laughing and we all lose our minds. Like that would be perfectly fine with me. But anything would be.
Yeah.
great.
Well, they're also they're leaking more stuff about the Mando and Grogu ride, how they're doing the update on the Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run ride, which we know is coming in May of 2026. But I imagine we're going to see some more of that. But as far as park stuff goes, I hope they just say, hey, we're throwing the timeline away and you're going to see all those great characters that you saw at Launch Bay all the time. They are doing a panel that's called Beyond the Spires, but it's beyond this because they call, at Galaxy's Edge, they say to the Spire because of the Black Spire Outpost.
Yeah.
But this is about the Disney castles, but I have a feeling they could sneak something in there.
Like,
I don't know. I'm making a very broad speculation. I don't think they're going to do anything about Star Wars in that panel. But I'm just saying, like, if it happened, I would be like a genius on the internet.
There you go.
you already are, Derek.
Oh, you're so sweet.
My question to you, in terms of the parks, is: didn't they just give us Luke at the parks, and maybe Ahsoka?
And Luke's already gone. They're already.
Oh, Luke's already gone.
But like it was a limited time. I think it was only at Disneyland. Pretty positive because of the 70th anniversary.
That makes sense.
World doesn't get any of the good stuff for Star Wars.
So it's all sequels still. Everything is sequels.
Yes, walking around in Galaxy's Edge.
Wasn't Mando and Grogu there and Boba Fett there at one point too, or is that just a limited time?
Mando and Grogu are walking around, but I guess in the timeline that'd be after or before. I mean,
yeah, I agree with you. I think they should just throw the whole timeline out and just give us everybody.
Yeah, because it's even for me, I'm like, wait, divide the square root of when did that happen again? Just give me Darth Vader walking through. We already know he's been to Batuu.
Yeah,
you have it in the book. It's canon.
There you go.
I mean, come on. You can even have Anakin and Padme. Could you imagine if you had Anakin and Padme?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm really surprised that they don't have that and they haven't sort of combined the characters and just have everybody out there now.
I know. Well, they used to do that with March of the First Order. You'd go into Hollywood Studios and all of the characters would be there. Except
I'm
for Padme.
surprised they've
That would be cool.
committed to the like timeline so hard. I would have
I
thought
know.
once Galaxy's Edge kind of got rolling, they would maybe branch it out. But I suppose,
Yeah, because there's no reason it needs to be.
yeah.
I almost made Mike go crazy. I was rage baiting Mike. Fair.
Well,
I watched part of his show the other day, so it's fine.
to your point though about Skeleton Crew, there has been a lot of rumors and reports going around about at least Jude Law being involved in some future Star Wars projects. I don't know about the kids or a Skeleton Crew season 2 even for that matter, but there's going to be a continuation of at least the story of Skeleton Crew, like at Atten and hopefully Jod too. And if we're lucky, the kids. I mean, Wim does still wield a lightsaber. So I don't know if D23 will be the place that they announce something like that, but there is no Star Wars Celebration next year. So I guess where else would they announce it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think D23 might be not the craziest like weekend because Star Wars Celebration already happened this year, but if even a non-public Mando trailer drops and it leaks out like they always do, that'd be pretty cool. I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
When is excuse me, when is that timeline for Skeleton Crew?
Well, I think, and I'm sure this is how it works, but I haven't had a confirmation from this. I think all the Mandoverse stuff comes out in release order. So like in the timeline, it's the same way. So Mando season 1 comes first, then season 2 goes next, then Book of Boba Fett, then then Mando season 3, then Ahsoka, then Skeleton Crew. So it all in release order is also in timeline order for the events to take place. So Skeleton Crew would be after Ahsoka and after Mando season 3.
Okay, so if we're gonna go, if Thrawn's gonna come back and go to Atten, and this is what I think, and use those credits, it's how far back. If Ahsoka was first, so he's already back.
Yeah, I mean they all take place around a similar time.
Okay,
so I don't know how long Thrawn has been back up at that point. They really don't do a good job of describing when these things take place.
Right.
Like Andor was like, boom, 4 BBY. Perfect. Great.
Right. Yeah.
But it could be anything from the same week this all takes place or multiple months apart. With Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka, they're so vastly different stories with zero overlapping characters that you can't really tell. We do know that it at least takes place after Mando season 3, though, because Vane is in it, and Vane was in Mando season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Austin asked about the games, if I thought Jedi game news. I don't think so, but I could also see speculation at Battlefront 3.
Is Battlefront 2 still doing really well?
I mean, it's died off a little bit, but that hype that came back was unreal. It's never happened before with a game. So I could absolutely see that. And are they both EA?
I think so.
Yes.
So that says a lot.
Yeah.
But EA is also notoriously slow.
Yes.
So we shall see.
That's the problem with Battlefront 3. Even when all that hype was happening, people don't realize it's going to take at least 3 years to make that game. Like, it's not going to come out tomorrow. And especially if they're making Jedi 3. Now, EA is the company that's the big company behind it, but it's more so Respawn, that the smaller, I don't really know how it works, like bigger company, smaller company type deal. But Respawn's the one who makes the Jedi games. EA just, I guess, funds them. I don't even know. It's just under the EA brand. So I think they could probably do both and get away with it. Just give Battlefront 3 to a different studio. But I don't know.
Do you think they're even starting on that already without anybody?
I would certainly hope so.
Because of everything that we got.
I don't think you can announce it without having started it.
Well, they've done several times where they've made trailers that they had no game. It was only in storyboard development, and they released trailers like this Outlaws game that.
Or Eclipse. Eclipse is the one that dropped.
Yeah,
I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
a sick trailer that apparently just is never going to happen.
It was so good. I love
Yeah.
that trailer. And it literally does not seem like it will ever happen. Or as Austin even said, the KOTOR remake, that trailer dropped 5 years ago, and we're still sitting here, or maybe 4 years ago, and we're still sitting here with
We're not gonna
zero
get it.
updates.
Yeah, we're not going to get it, which is sad because I would love to have a new Knights of the Old Republic game and canon and just yeah, we want it.
Well, maybe, and to sound optimistic, I guess, maybe they're waiting for the Old Republic storyline to actually take place on the screen. And while they are doing Knights of the Old Republic show and saga movies, then they'll also give you the game. So you can literally be fully immersed in the Knights of the Old Republic or just the Old Republic time period. So maybe they're waiting, but that's just a very, very hopeful, optimistic look at that.
Maybe they can just bring Star Killer. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see them also maybe even retrofitting some of the older games for the anniversary.
Yeah.
Whether it's the 50-year anniversary or I'm sure we have a LucasArts anniversary coming up, like 25 or 30 coming up. Because I've been seeing a lot of talk about a game that I played on PlayStation 1 a long time ago called Jedi Power Battles. Did you ever see that? Did you ever play it?
I've never even heard of it.
It's a bizarre game. But if you look it up, it was kind of weird. Like, Plo Koon could do Force Lightning and all this, it's like crazy game. You just run around and do missions in Phantom Menace style. But there's been like a lot of little clips about that game that I'm seeing on, like YouTube and stuff and how people are playing it again. So I don't know how, I'm not a gamer, so I don't know how people are doing that. If they're literally just pulling out old PlayStations and doing it, or if, they're.
I just want an open world Star Wars game. Like, just make Red Dead Redemption 2 Star Wars. Like, that's. I mean, but don't ask Rockstar to do it.
Yeah.
We're waiting like 10 years on GTA.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It would be cool to have a Red Dead Redemption type Star Wars game. The only problem is
Outlaws should have been.
Yes, it's very hard. Like Red Dead is a map. It's a big map, and it's an open world map, but it's one planet. Like for Star Wars, you'd have to have this enormous game to have multiple planets, make it feel like it's endless, and have that feel of Red Dead. Outlaws, I was more on board with Outlaws than most people were, but I just like the open worldedness of it. You can go to Tatooine and literally see a crate dragon come up over the sand dunes and like go back under, and you can go to Jabba's palace and just explore. Like it's open world as open world gets for Star Wars, which I thought was really cool. But I would 1000% be down for. We just need more Star Wars games, especially multiplayer ones, because people want to play with just their friends and other Star Wars fans.
I don't know if anybody's ever played No Man's Sky or seen that. Like,
yes,
it's a space. Yeah, it's a great space exploration game. So the planets, like, they're all the same. Like they're all different, but they're very, very similar. It's basically like there's like 5 different planet types, and you travel all over this like endless universe. They could definitely do something like that, where it just changes colors and skins, and you're getting unlimited. Come on, you can do this. They can do this.
Well, actually, another game, Helldivers 2. Have you seen Helldivers 2?
Mm-hmm.
So people have modded that game to look like Star Wars, and it's like the coolest thing. It's like No Man's Sky, where you pretty much are protecting this super Earth, whatever. It's a long story, but you're fighting off these aliens and other creatures too. But when you put a Star Wars skin on it, it immediately becomes so much cooler, just to me. But that's what we want when it comes to Star Wars games. Like, you want to play with your friends, be in these big battles as Star Wars characters that you know. Like, I wouldn't say it's not that difficult. It probably is really difficult. I don't know how to make a video game, but it's not that difficult to please us as Star Wars fans.
Yeah, that guy B says, as much as he loved Outlaws, I haven't even played it because even if it is good, and I'm sure it is a good game, the one thing it should be, it's an open world, but it needs to be multiplayer, and you need to be able to make your own player. And
make your own player thing, it wasn't the biggest issue because Cal Kestis doesn't make your own player either. But
But it's a linear game.
It is, yes. It's not as open world as it should be, I guess. Like, there's not a lot of side missions, at least that I played. So
Squad.
yeah.
Oh, Steven says Squadron. I know we went on a tangent of games. Squadrons was really cool, but like they admitted that they stopped development on it too soon from what they wanted it to be, and that's why the price came out at $25. So they're like, hey, there was no quarrels about it. They're like, hey, we are not going to finish this the way we wanted, so we're just going to sell it for $25. It was totally worth $25. The problem with Squadrons, in my opinion, is you got a lot of sweaty tryhards on there, and the the access point of like being able to be competitive is very, very, very broad. So like, if you're not into those type of games, you're just not going to be successful.
Yeah, and to tie this all back together, getting back to what sort of Rom was saying, when it comes to Star Wars games, and you have people like Kay Vess, couldn't even think of her name. Kay Vess, Cal Kestis, like these characters who are canon in games, you can have them come over to live action, to the shows, to the animation, to all that other stuff. Just like you can have these things be explored in other mediums like novels and comics. Video games are just another part of that, and it's more of an interactive one. People love video games. If you like video games, you really like video games, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. So it's just another avenue to tell more stories, especially if you're doing like a Red Dead Redemption type game. You could tell an incredible story in the Star Wars universe, a canon one too, with a character like Cal Kestis, like the Jedi games do, and then bring them over to live action and connect it all together.
Yeah, Max Rebo said you can't really make your own player in a canon game. Well, you do it exactly how Red Dead did it, where you have the campaign mode with Arthur, where you have that is the character, and then the online mode is just kind of it's in the universe, but it's for fun. I don't think anyone would complain if that part of the game was not canon. I wouldn't. I just want an open world Star Wars game.
So I want to know, because I don't play them at all. I watch the whatever they do when they put it all together in reference to Outlaws, because I would buy this and just to walk through Jabba's palace. I thought that was cool that you were able to say you can sort of go off and do that. Now, do any of these games, I know there was one a while back, do they do the VR with the headsets? Like, see, because that would be cool as hell. I think I'd buy Outlaws just to go do that, put that VR headset on and walk through Jabba's palace.
Well, interesting. There used to be, I don't know if they still exist, Austin and I at the Mall of America in Minnesota went through this like fully immersive VR thing that was similar to the Vader Immortal game.
Yeah.
And they put us, Austin can leave comments, they put us in these vests and helmets and everything, and you're like tethered, and all the rooms and all the things in the room are set up to what you're seeing. And so like
that's crazy.
You're undercover on, I think, Mustafar as a stormtrooper, and you're like, all right, we'll grab a rifle, and you grab it, and then you have a rifle. Or you're like, let's break into this door, and you do the whole thing. And then at the very end, the door is open, and Vader's there, and he knows who you are, and you can feel like there's lava around. It gets really hot in there, and he's chasing you down, and you just feel helpless. You can't do anything about it. You're running away, shooting him. It doesn't matter. And then you somehow get away. And that was
The Void.
Yeah. And
because they had it in Orlando too.
Yeah. Austin, I don't remember how long it was. It wasn't very long, but it felt like a while. And
so that obviously sounds unbelievably cool. VR to me, especially with Star Wars, is just insane. But Max Rebo says the VR Squadrons would be really cool. That already exists. Actually, Squadrons is VR. Like you can play it. So you're sitting in the cockpit, like you're actually in the cockpit of like an X-Wing or a TIE fighter. That's really cool. But I did the Vader Immortal games. It was like, I remember sitting in my living room after tracing out my little area in the middle of my living room. And the opening scene is like you're in a ship in space, and you have to kick it into hyperspace. And it is like indescribable of how cool it is when you press that lever and you push it forward. You're like, punch it, Chewie, and then you just see the hyperspace in front of you, and it's fully immersive because it's on your face. And then you get captured on Mustafar, not to spoil the whole thing, but you're a prisoner there, and Vader walks in, and they make it so Vader just towers over you because he's this big crazy presence, and it's just so real because it's VR, and that would be, like Ron said, if you could do Jabba's palace or any other location really in Star Wars where you're actually there in the room, like that would be so cool. Placing yourself in Star Wars,
Walk
that's the
through
cool
Yavin
stuff.
4.
Yeah.
That was like Star Wars Tales from Galaxy's Edge on VR. That was pretty fun, and you're in Galaxy's Edge and running around and doing missions. I liked that. It was just a little. The problem with VR games is they're a little clunky.
Yeah,
so
it's not fully there. Like it's not real. Like you can still feel that you're not actually in there, and obviously, how do you make it feel like you're actually there? I don't know. Maybe you have heat coming up around you. That would be helpful. I don't know. So it's still missing a piece to it. Like VR is not fully there, and the graphics aren't fully there either. But it could be soon. Like it's getting there, which is scary but cool.
Well, especially with AI and Unreal Engine, like it's getting real close.
Exactly.
Anyone play the game my dad's talking about, the arcade X-Wing game?
Totally.
I don't think I have. I've played the Pod Racer game.
I think you can get it with Arcade 1-Up now.
Really?
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of Star Wars arcade games, like when I go to just like an arcade, but I don't think I played the X-Wing one.
Yeah, they got a new pinball machine in Costco. That's the original Star Wars for $5,000.
Oh,
yeah, right. I was like, oh my god, this is cool. I'm gonna get this, and I was like, ooh, that's a little pricey even for me. And I was like, yeah, that's a little crazy.
Yeah,
the old Pod Racer game, that was cool too.
Yeah, you had the Anakin's handles.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I never did get into the games. Again, just watching those the recaps and stuff like that, which I think is cool. But for something like that where you could walk into Yavin 4 or Jabba's palace, and even as a unknown character or just somebody that happened to be there, when Leia brings Chewie in or something like that, and you're just standing over in the corner, walking around or any of that, even on Mos Eisley, walking to the cantina. How cool would that be just to do that? And even with the sequels now, walking through Canto Bight. Not that I like the whole Canto Bight thing, but I thought the Canto Bight property was cool.
Yeah.
The whole gambling or the whole Vegas thing or whatever you want to look at it. But I thought that was pretty neat, and I think it would be cool to do that. I remember I did get one because I actually have the I don't even know what it is, but it's the R2D2 with the C3PO controller, and I just bought it because it was the Star Wars R2D2 game and the controller because I didn't play anything. But I did buy the one that back a while ago where you had the little thing that sat up on your TV and it sort of measured you, and you could do the lightsaber battle and stuff like that, or you could do. They had like dance and things, that you could do like that because that dance was popular at that time. Yeah.
Here's Ron, like he's got all this stuff, spend all this money, but he won't play, and he's on a tour bus all the time and won't play a Star Wars game. Like it's probably for the best. With you on the bus, you'd never get off the bus.
True. I snagged
level up. All right, I gotta go.
I snagged my old PSP last Christmas when I was home, and I had one of the like offshoot Battlefronts that was only made for PSP on it, and it was like one of the only games I could find. And I played so many Galactic Conquests on that in a week that I just like had nothing left to do on the game.
Galaxy 23 is talking about the Super Star Wars games for SNES. They were so hard, but they were so good. I spent so many weekends at my uncle, the one that got me into Star Wars, at his house, just dying to get through these. I'll never forget, like when you're Luke in the speeder. And it was unbeatable. It was so hard. Oh gosh, Ron's got
a
whole an Xbox. Dude.
No way, he has it in his hand. Look at this.
Oh my god! Just play Xbox with me. Come on, let's go. I'm wearing my Xbox headset.
That guy B said it's Xbox 360. So yes, mean, I just bought it. I mean, I have everything. It was hooked up because what I would do is instead of using a VCR before I got all the streaming services, I would watch all the DVDs because I have all the DVDs for all of the freaking Clone Wars and all the movies and all that. So you could put them in here, and that's mainly what I would use this for. And I got the cool C-3PO handle too, or controller.
For goodness sakes.
Ron goes, I don't play any video games, and pulls out a full Xbox 360 that's customized to R2D2. That's so awesome.
Gosh.
And it's his DVD player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Ron.
Just
Just
so
play.
awesome.
Play with me, Ron.
We got an interesting comment from Austin here that I missed. Hot take about canon and video games. Like with the MCU, canon in Star Wars is one of the coolest things about the IP, but it also is the thing holding it back the most.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about that?
Yeah, and there's plenty of Marvel games though that aren't canon.
Yeah, I mean almost all of them. I think.
Yeah,
yeah. Marvel Rivals, the Iron Man games. Yeah, and I don't think any of them are actually. But yeah, to that point, I don't think video games are being held back by that because you still get games like the Skywalker Saga Lego games, which I guess are technically following the canon of Star Wars, but there's you're also Jar Jar Binks at the Battle of Crate or whatever. Like it's not canon. So I do think that you can make a Star Wars game now still and it not be canon. I just think for me personally, it's more intriguing when it is canon. When I'm following Cal Kestis' story and I can go, how can this fit into the other stuff that I know going on at the same time? And when Vader shows up, you're like, okay, this is awesome because it's canon. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't also enjoy a Legends game. It fully depends on what the Legends game is, I guess.
I think it would hold back what Derek brought up earlier. Like it definitely holds back bringing back Starkiller.
Oh yeah.
Like it holds back what used to, like the canon is, I feel like they've done generally a really good job with like separating canon and stuff, but like there was a time where games like The Force Unleashed were out and it didn't matter, none of it. And that was kind of like a side story that could happen. And there were multiple, I think my dad even said in the comments, like you could choose your outcome very much like Knights of the Old Republic. And that's different because it happens so far back that it doesn't, your choices don't affect the saga films. But they had a little more of a choose your own adventure feel to them, which I could see now.
Right? Do they have the Lego games as well that are not canon, correct? Just like the movies.
Yeah, they're not. But even with like Outlaws, you can kind of choose your own outcome, or at least you can choose who you're friends with. Like you can be more friends with the Hutts than the Pikes or whatever. So it's kind of like choose your own stuff. But yeah, I mean, the difference would be if Starkiller was canon, then those games would be, well, it's Starkiller is a very bad example because he's almost impossible to bring into canon because he's so powerful.
Right.
We know that the original trilogy happens and he's not there.
But it is a really fun game. I think it was a point I'm trying to make.
Is
like,
so good.
Yeah.
But they also they kind of abandoned Iden Versio from Battlefront 2, and like she was so important with the Inferno Squad and also with Cinder, and there was a lot where I was really shocked that she was not in a movie or a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that she's great in the book, the accompanying books too. That might also be. Like that's the cool thing and maybe the tough thing about canon in games, which is that now there's always like an accompanying novel and like some accompanying content around it that kind of like solidify the whole thing. And I could see there being game. Now this is coming from someone who hasn't really played video games for over a decade, but like I could see certain game modes that we all used to like to play not being options anymore. However, Battlefront 2 does a great job. The new one does a great job. Like you can play heroes and villains with whoever you want. Doesn't matter with crossover like the original Battlefronts.
Yeah.
And then it has a story mode that's canon.
Yeah. So then my question for you guys who play it is like, can you do the same thing you could on the original Battlefronts where there were maps Some were like specifically Clone Wars and some were specifically originals, but there were a bunch that had overlap where you could just play this like impossible match. So is that doable on?
Kind of. I mean, you can play different eras, and depending on the era you queue up, you can play as those heroes of that era. So you could play, like, for example, Obi-Wan, like on Kashyyyk or something. Like, he wasn't there, but you can play as him there. When you're playing heroes versus villains, you can play any hero or any villain on any map.
Yeah.
So that is the crossover. But usually when you're playing Supremacy, if it's the prequels, you're clones versus droids, and the heroes are the people of that era.
Or like, are there maps like I don't have a good example, but I'm pretty sure back in the old Battlefronts you could do something like Geonosis as the Empire and the Rebels, or might be the wrong map, but there were like overlaps.
I think only in Heroes and Villains.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's cool.
Well, the cool thing about Battlefront 2 is the same thing Ron was saying. Like, some of the maps, one is Jabba's palace. Like, you can walk around Jabba's palace. Nobody's there, but like, it's still Jabba's palace. Like, they put a lot of attention to detail on those places. You can go into the cantina on Tatooine in the Tatooine map. And I guess all the maps are that detailed, but they all usually stem from a battle that took place in Star Wars or a location like that. So there's usually something that's very recognizable and very cool to visit on any of these maps.
I was trying to find some of the games that I actually used to play back in the early 90s.
Hong.
Big Doug.
Miss Pac-Man.
Okay.
Sorry, Ron.
But it was the old Nintendo ones, where they'd come running across the screen, and it'd be all the pixels, and you'd have the, and Princess Leia would shoot somebody and it'd die, and then you could run along and keep going, Yeah. But,
what I was surprised about is that they haven't made, or maybe they plan to still, but over the last 5 years, haven't made a Mando game. Like, Mando's a bounty hunter. You got Grogu there. You could do any sort of bounty hunting missions. You could have the N1 Starfighter. You could have the Razor Crest. Like, that seems like a gold mine for a video game, specifically. Like a Jedi type of game, but as a bounty hunter instead. Like that, a Mando game sounds like a no-brainer to me. I mean,
well,
so that's
absolutely.
where you could put him in Battlefront 3.
Well, yeah, but I'm just so saying, like,
there hasn't been one yet.
Like, when they did the prequel movies, Revenge of the Sith had its own video game, and like actually Nick was saying, it had multiple different endings. Like, you could choose to for Anakin to win and kill Obi-Wan, and like that would be a different ending. Yeah, exactly. But
and you also had pod racing for like that was an amazing game. I know somebody mentioned that. It was such a great game.
So the games now, they're really cool, like the Jedi games and stuff. They follow different characters, but I'd like games that follow the current stories that are being told too, like a Din Djarin, Grogu, Mando game. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's surprising that there isn't one out there because, like you said, it's so huge right now, and like we've talked about before, the movie is going to crush just because of Grogu and the Mandalorian and how well they've done on Disney Plus and the live streaming or the live action. So yeah, I would very surprised that there's not something or at least involved in one of these games where you can use him as a character.
Yeah. Well, honestly, there's still a chance that they could do so. Today, actually, I saw this. I don't know if I can find it right now, but the new Disney really wants the Mandalorian the Mandalorian and Grogu movie to be the beginning of a trilogy, because they know that there's success there with Din and Grogu, and of course, are telling the story of the heir to the Empire with Grand Admiral Thrawn. They want that to be a trilogy and hopefully a successful one. But if it's a trilogy, you're going to at least get 6-ish more years of Din and Grogu. So there's plenty of time to do more, maybe a Mando video game or Mando anything, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll. Do you think they need it if they kind of have? I'm trying to look for the right words, but Cal Kestis, Derek, didn't exist prior to these games, and none of that did. And it's such a like now fan favorite thing that like I don't know if they're willing to like take a break on those properties to do tie-in games anymore. Like I think Jedi Fallen Order is like such a great thing on its own, and that has like more potential for them to actually put him in a show than to expend the resources to be like, we're going to do a tie-in game again, even though everyone's going to love it.
Well, but I think the problem is that now everybody's calling for Cal Kestis nonstop, and now I feel like I'm like I want him so bad, but I'm afraid that they're gonna force him, and they're not. So I guess I shouldn't be afraid because it's been so long. But I think that's a problem with the games too, is that when they make original characters, then people want to see them on screen or in animation, whatever it is. I mean, that's why they make a lot of the Lego Star Wars things. They're fun, they're funny, they can do weird stuff, and they can add those characters. Like that's why, in the new show, we're gonna get Cal and Revan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is Ahsoka in a game yet?
They made. I mean, she's in the Lego games. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, besides that, in a canon game, any of these,
no,
we haven't seen her yet as a character.
No, which is actually kind of weird because you'd think she'd be able to pop up because she's not in the original trilogy. So she like Outlaws or something, she could be around.
Especially like Geonosis on Battlefront 2. But
well, Battlefront 3 would definitely have Ahsoka Tano, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly hope so. But going back to Cal Kestis, like you said, everybody wants him to show up. I wonder if
Except
every
for Max
time,
Rebo.
yeah, because he thinks he died on Alderaan. I wonder if every time they go into like a Mandoverse pitch meeting or like first day on set, and they're like, okay, we can maybe introduce Ahsoka in here in Mando season 2, and Luke Skywalker over there, and Bo-Katan and Boba Fett, and then that one kid in the back goes, "What about Cal Kestis?" They're like, "Not in this project." And then the next time, "What about Cal Kestis?" "Not in this one either."
It's just me popping up like, "Hey guys, is it time yet?"
No,
I'd really like it. I think he's great.
Honestly, what you said though too, it's been like 7-8 years. They're clearly waiting for the right time to bring him in at this point. Like they're not rushing it by any means.
It's gonna happen. We pretty much know it'll happen with something.
And I think with Dave and John doing this stuff, and some of these other people that are involved now that are Star Wars fans as well, I think they are going to do it right. I think they will bring him in because he has become such a big character. Just like with Ahsoka when they brought her, into the Mandalorian and then gave her own show. We already know, and they already brought her up, and we already know what's going on with her and what an important character as she is. And as Mike and I, are huge fans of Ahsoka, you have to bring that into these things. And I think that they did a great job bringing her in to these live actions, and I think they'll do the same with Cal Kestis. I think it's just, and again, it might be him finding the time to do it as well. I don't know if he's doing anything right now, but obviously he's an actor and hopefully he has stuff going on. But I think at some point they will bring it in, and I think it will be in the next couple of years with this, especially if they do a trilogy, Mike.
Yeah, well, it's the connection of Night Sisters and Dathomir, because in the Jedi games you're on Dathomir a lot. And it's one of the, I guess, open worlds. It's not really open world, but it's one of the explorable worlds in Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, I think. But yeah, definitely Fallen Order because you fight Terra Malicos. But Merrin's also a Night Sister, so it's that connection there. And then Thrawn, of course, being on Dathomir with Night Sisters. It's what's got me excited about Maul too, because Maul's supposed to be on Dathomir in the Maul series with Darth Talon, like all that great stuff. So there's really a big through line in all of this storytelling in Star Wars from the prequels to the Mandoverse, and that's Dathomir and Night Sisters through and through, and Cal is directly connected to all that.
Max brings up a good point, and I understand that he wasn't created by Filoni, but now that Dave has creative control and he sees what type of character this character is becoming, I think that they are going to use him, and I think it is like you're talking about, being on Dathomir, and with her being a Night Sister, there's a very good possibility and that they're keeping this very close to their chest, and they could be Mandalorian and Grogu, because I think, and in the Maul series, because they're on Dathomir. They have a lot to do with Dathomir. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him and when they bring him in, if it is in the Maul series or if it's going to be live action first.
Yeah, I also think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, and Maul's right after Clone Wars. He's on Dathomir. Jedi Fallen Order is 5 years after Clone Wars. He's on Dathomir. How did their paths not cross? What happened there?
We've also talked about this before. I think a few of you brought it up, but like them casting, like a legitimate working actor to do a video game.
Of course, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, but that being said, I do think that they're waiting for the right time, like you guys said, and they're also probably building this next game, in which case you kind of are in a predicament of, like, how do you tell his story? Because someone said earlier about, like, they don't know, they might not have known how he gets out of the original trilogy yet, or if he does. Yeah. So, like, do you put him into one of the, like, on-screen properties and then kind of just make a fun game where he, makes it out? Or do you have his story continue heavily in the game and end there? Like, I don't know. I think it puts them in a bind of, like, okay, if we do this, then we have to move this around. If we do this, we have a little more freedom with him. I still think he's entering the canon for sure. He's already canon. He's entering the live action stuff, but it does put them in a little bit of a, like, creative bind depending on where they plop him in.
Well, I think going back to this whole if Mando's a trilogy type thing, the first Jedi game came out in 2018. Second one came out in 2023. So that's 5 years, about, give or take. Or was it 2019? Maybe it was 2019. I don't know. Either way, 5 or 4 years. So 5 or 4 years from 2023 would put you in 2027 or 2028. And if the first Mando movie comes out in 2026, then the next one will probably come out in 2028. So if Cal Kestis were to appear in that next Mando movie, or even the third Mando movie, then the trilogy of games would be over. I think you're right that they're waiting for that trilogy to be over so that there's more stakes in the third game. You won't just already know that Cal comes out unscathed because you've already seen him in live action. And he has all of his limbs or whatever, and he's still alive. So maybe, yeah.
Well, and I think that even like you're talking about with these years in between, and yes, it takes a while for these, games to be, whatever you want to call it, constructed or whatever. But the technology nowadays is just growing so fast with AI and things like that. You probably could get a game out in half the time nowadays. If instead of 4 or 5 years, you're looking at maybe, a year and a half, 2 years, hopefully.
Right, but like Mike said, you do have different studios making the game. So even though, I just looked it up just to double check. EA is the publisher of those games, which basically they get the final say, and they put their name on it. But Respawn Entertainment is the one that does all the stuff with Cal Kestis, and then DICE does all the Battlefront games. So you have to also look at, like, what does Respawn have in their hopper right now? What games do they have in development? Because that might be a big thing too, where they don't have the time or the manpower to make another one on Disney's timeline, because Disney would be like, oh, well, we don't want a game, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we want it right now, and they're like, yo, we've got 5 games in development, we don't have enough people. So that's another thing, like logistics of working with multiple companies outside of the main company. And I'm sure getting like Lucasfilm and Disney to sign off on stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
Because you not only have them signing off on stuff, you have the people at Respawn saying this is good enough to present, EA wanting to put their stamp on it, Disney wanting to put their stamp on EA. And it's like it could get lost at any point in there.
Right. And Respawn is in a little bit of hot water too because of the Battlefield games, and then also Titanfall 3 So like they've had some cancellations. They've had some issues with some of the games they put out not being good, not working well. So
Yeah,
I'd rather just see Cal in live action before we get another game. How about that?
also true. But that's the issue with Battlefront 3 too, is like you just said, Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is coming out soon. They stopped updating Battlefront 2 to make Battlefield 4 2042 at the time. But they stopped updating Battlefront to make Battlefield. So they'd have to stop making Battlefield to make Battlefront again. And they're probably not going to do that anytime soon.
Are they both Star Wars games?
No, Battlefield
No.
is just like a real world military, like Call of Duty type game. And then Battlefront is obviously Star Wars.
Is there any Star Wars games where you can be interactive with other people?
Yeah, Battlefront is a
Right.
multiplayer game.
Okay.
It's right now really the only one that's, I guess, active. There's probably some people on the older games, just not like nearly as much as Battlefront 2. But all the Jedi games, Outlaws, all that's all single player. And as great as it is, the story is great. I'm not the biggest single player kind of guy. I like playing multiplayer with my friends or with just people or in general. So I'd rather a big Star Wars community game.
And I think that would be fun too, because that's something that I could get into. But again,
Yeah, you could.
that's all I would be doing. You know,
Yeah,
I'd be 24/7.
Take out,
You can
take out-
stream it. You
still
can
on there,
stream it,
guys.
Ron.
you could take out the 360 that's R2 themed, and
Yeah.
I could imagine if trying to get Ron set up for that, like the calls. Derek, how do I get the Xbox to work through this?
I got this new 80-inch TV I want to hook it up to.
I got to move back to Nashville just to help him out. I mean, I'm in. I like that idea.
I have a game I want to drop. I don't know if this is the game he's talking about. I think this is a game that's out right now, right?
Yeah.
Did anyone play Star Wars Bounty Hunter with Jango Fett back on PlayStation 2?
I've watched gameplay of it. I never played it myself, but yeah.
If my parents are still in the chat, we rented that from the local video store.
Huh.
And I'm pretty sure we experienced late fees on it. My bad. But that is a really fun game. And it goes into like Dooku recruiting you, Jango Fett, and testing you on being like a specimen and all that kind of stuff. And it is great. And I think it was rated T for teen, but like it gives a vibe of like Red Dead a little bit. But when you watch it, it's got like PS2 graphics, so it's but it's a very fun game. I feel like it kind of gets lost in the ether because of how awesome Battlefront is, and the Revenge of the Sith game and all the new stuff. But yeah, if anybody had ever played that, let us know, because I feel like I'm going crazy being the only one who remembers it.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember the game. I didn't play it, but I definitely remember the game, and I've watched a lot of gameplay of it because I've heard it was so good, and it does look really good.
I was trying to find that trailer for Battle. Okay, there it is. That Bounty Hunter one. Actually, I'm gonna put this up here real quick.
I'd love to see the trailer.
Let's see here.
It's got classic PS2 graphics.
Yeah,
or they're like, for the time, kind of good. Now
they look horrible. Yeah.
All right, hang on a second. Let's see here.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
cool.
didn't have a PlayStation, so I wasn't a PlayStation guy. I was Xbox.
Yeah, I was
Well,
Xbox
that's it
too.
too. There's so many different PlayStation and Nintendo and Xbox, and then every year doesn't like a new game system come out, and you got to buy the Xbox 14 and the PlayStation 22, and
Well, that's why, like, now, and it's a whole nother tangent, but now with Nintendo Switch and the games are like $100 each, and that's why everything's going like those handheld things. Xbox just announced theirs, and it's just the Asus Ally, but with different handles. But then you can play Steam games and you can play Xbox games on there. So that's my new path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as
So
I'm
when
on
did
my
this come
laptop
out?
right now too.
when did this one come out?
I don't know.
A
Well,
while
like even that right there, like there's still connections to that now. Like in the
Yeah.
comics, the War of the Bounty Hunter comics, Boba puts on the armor and paints it that black color that was in that game. Like that's what it's from.
Pretty cool.
That's cool.
But I think they like that trailer. I think it's come back up because they like what do they call it? They like refinished it so you can play it on current systems. Or they whatever the current system was when they did that.
Mhm.
So it's out there somehow. I don't know. I'm not well versed in that world, but
yeah, that's pretty cool. That looked like a pretty cool game. But yeah, that I would be just obsessed with those games, just because again, I watched the 3 or 4 hours of the outtakes, you know, to get that story about Cal Kestis or Starfighter, you know, because I haven't been able to play. Now I did read the first Starfighter book. Have you any of you guys done that? Have you read the 2 either or the Force Unleashed, I guess?
Yeah. I didn't read the Force Unleashed books. No,
I thought you said Starfighter. I read the first book.
Yeah,
I read the first book. Yeah.
And I thought it was cool because again, you get a little bit more of the backstory and what's going on when you get to finally watch and see what's going on. Starkiller, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys have played that before. I know Jacob has.
And it's just a fun game. It's so impractical if you want to fit it into how, you know, how things go, because you can like blow up an entire room of stormtroopers with like
Mine bullets.
Floating into the air and exploding, and they all disintegrate, which is really fun when as a cool power up. But
I think
like it's
Mike has a good point. They can't bring him into this because he is too powerful. There's no way you're going to have someone that powerful in this, and
he pulls
he's still Legends, correct?
Yeah, he pulls a Star Destroyer out of the sky. Like
everybody remembers that freaking trailer for that. That was just like
it's very cool and very fun. And it was actually kind of hard to do because you got to like press the buttons and like keep up with it. But
yeah. I mean, Starkiller is just impossible at this point, sadly. Although he is really cool, because even if you do bring him into canon and you make him weaker, people are going to complain about that. And then if you bring him into canon somewhere else in the timeline, people complain about that. So it's just a lose-lose situation for that.
I think that's what Austin's kind of talking about before. With like, there are some things that kind of get held back because we kind of can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
unless I think he mentioned earlier that he wanted a game with like no repercussions, kind of like the Lego Rebuild the Galaxy vibe, which I would be down to get back into, but I would appreciate it. No offense to the Lego games, but I would appreciate it in like a real game.
Yeah,
same. Yeah.
Well, to that, him pulling a Star Destroyer out of the sky, it's not as cool, but it's still very cool when Vader pulls the ship out of the sky in Kenobi. Or even Ahsoka. She doesn't, also true. Rey and Kylo. But when even Ahsoka in Clone Wars Season 7, she doesn't pull it completely down, but when Maul's escaping and she tries to stop it, like that stuff's cool. Yeah. I did find this update for the Mando thing coming from Daniel RPK. It's again a rumor, so take it with a giant grain of salt. But it says Lucasfilm really wants to make a Mando trilogy, assuming the film is going to be a success. If The Mandalorian Grogu is a success, not only will there be a trilogy greenlit, but also more Mando movies in the Mandoverse will be greenlit too. So I honestly don't know if they're going to fully, not obviously stop, but go away from making live action shows. What that sounds like to me is if they're going to greenlight another Mandoverse movie, you'd be thinking like a Luke Skywalker movie with the Jedi Temple, or a young Ben Solo movie, or a Mara Jade movie, or something like that. They can still make a Boba Fett season 2 or a Skeleton Crew season 2 on Disney Plus. What this screams to me is that the Mandoverse in this hopefully Mando trilogy, they're just the test subjects. Like, this is all just how is Star Wars going to look moving forward? The post-sequel world, the Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic. The Mandoverse is first, and it gets to end up with all the kinks in it and figure it out as it goes. Starts on Disney Plus, turns into a trilogy. Like, we're going to see how that works. but it's gonna set the stage for what happens after that. So if it is a trilogy with shows and movies in between, that would be kind of cool. I'd be okay with that.
Well, I think it kind of, there are some people on the internet who, I think this is a good point, but I'm going to butcher it, that kind of claim that it's a classic thing to do Star Wars trilogies, but at the time of the sequels, to start off with a trilogy in the saga is a really tall order in today's, world of putting out content. It's really hard to put out 3 movies in a row, no matter how they're received, and satisfy people the way that a really well put series does. It's just a different, era of consumption.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you're exactly right that the Mandoverse kind of goes like, all right, before we do trilogies again, like this would help to kind of have like a game plan of how we map out these time periods where we're doing more stories. And because Mandalorian hit, really well, I think they were able to keep testing and testing. We've talked about it before. I think like Mando was the test ground to now run with Ahsoka, and now that whole thing has its own thing. I think it was like the testing ground for Dave Filoni to get his first live action directorial debut. Like all these things where they realize like, man, we can't even, let's say the sequels were the greatest thing that ever happened. It still would have not been aligned with how people consume stories anymore. So it's, I think they're kind of trying to figure out like, well, that's my cue.
Chewie said, no, you're done. Well, when are we going to get Cara Dune back? Or are we?
Yeah, are we? That's the big question.
I mean, they made it sound like, Disney even made it sound like it, but, that could just be playing nice for court. But there's a lot of story to be told.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, is if they're going to go down this route of making a trilogy and giving us movies in between and shows in between, there's a whole 25, 30 years here to explore. There's plenty of time to tell this story. And it might not be the case that this whole trilogy is about Thrawn. Like, he could die or be defeated in the second movie, and then the third movie could be about the First Order rising to power. Like, it could be about something completely different. We don't really know. Or the stories in between could be about the First Order rising to power. We could get a First Order show or something. I don't know. Snoke show. Who knows?
First Order versus the Chist.
Yes. Imagine. It'd be great.
That would be so good.
This whole story could turn on its head. Like, it could just be nothing that we think of, because Thrawn in canon is very different from Thrawn in Legends, where Thrawn in Legends in the Heir to the Empire trilogy, he's not trying to save his people. He's not trying to rescue anybody. He gets defeated. That's it. He's dead. He's gone. Boom. Done. Three books and he's over with. He's a strategical genius. He's the heir to the Empire. He's awesome, but there's no connection to his Chiss origin. He's not protecting his people. None of that's explored in the books, at least that trilogy. In canon, in his trilogy of canon books, that's all they talk about. He joins the Empire to protect his people. Like, that's the whole gist of his story. That in canon now, as him being the heir to the Empire, is going to be completely different than the books. That's why I think that fans of the books are going to either be extremely disappointed or hopefully look at it as a different version of the story, because we throw around heir to the Empire and everybody who's read those books hears the story they already know, and we're not getting that exact same story. Not even close.
They even imply in the new books, which I think is a cool detail, like you just said, that it kind of just happened that the Empire had the best access to power for him. Had he been 20 years prior, Thrawn would have been perfectly happy, like serving the Republic and the Jedi, because it's the best access he has to, power to be able to do eventually what he needs to do. So, I don't know if we need to do an episode when that happens to like full disclaimer heir to the Empire fans, because I think it makes honestly for a better story on screen. It will, but there will be a lot of like assumptions made as to which way it's going to go.
You think Heir to the Empire would be better than the Thrawn trilogy?
What do you mean, like the canon version versus
the older one, the 3 that you just finished, compared to the new Thrawn
Yeah.
Because that's probably more likely what's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it has the opportunity to be better because in Legends, Thrawn is just the next bad guy. He's the next Palpatine. He's the next Vader, and then he gets defeated. If in canon, it's completely different. He's not like Palpatine at all. He's still the leader of the Empire, but it's for different reasons. It's for actual protecting his people type reasons. Maybe there's a bigger threat that he's trying to warn the rest of the galaxy about. Like,
There's more to do.
Yeah, to the point where people are actually rooting for Thrawn. Like, they go, "Oh my God, he's right." Like, to the point where people don't even know if he's a bad guy or not. Like, that would be so different than the Legend story, and it would be so different from the villains that have come before in Star Wars, because it's usually Jedi, Sith, good, evil, and there's not much of a, oh, maybe Palpatine's a good guy. There's none of that. So if you could get that with Thrawn, it would be a very different story in Star Wars, and I think people would like that a lot. Like a more, I guess, not really knowing what's good or not and trying to almost bend the line between good and evil there. That would be kind of cool. And maybe there'd be a bigger threat like the Grisk or Abeloth looming in the unknown regions or in a different galaxy.
I definitely think we're going to get Abeloth at some point now.
At some point.
Something, that's going to pertain to that with the whole Balin Skull thing. I think we're definitely going to get some sort of information about that, if not get to see her. And I also saw something the other day, and I almost thought it was a really good Mandalorian Grogu trailer that somebody made up, and it was sort of like something that I think we talked about last week, Mike, where I feel like we're going to have to go into this Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and somebody's going to have to tell Mando about, now that he's part of the, helping out the rebels or rebellion or whatever, and say, hey, listen, have you heard about Thrawn? This is who this bad guy is now. And then once we get introduced to him, and some of the normie fans get introduced to him, now we can start to go into Ahsoka season 2, and we can see him take over Dathomir and maybe and start to do his thing. And like you said, the first 2 movies, he's winning battles and he's kicking everybody's ass. And then finally he's going to have to, like Braylon says, it goes up and down with the good and evil and good and evil. And I think that Thrawn is going to get a bunch of wins to show how strategically, he can win these battles. And then at some point, he's not going to be around for the First Order.
I like Max Rebo's comment here too, because this is also possible.
That would be crazy.
Because last we see of the Shadow Council, they're like, Thrawn ain't my boss. I don't see him in here. And
he comes back and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So like, how does that all play out? They're all kind of power hungry. Look at Gideon. They're all kind of like trying to climb each other, and a total empire competition thing. And all we know is the First Order comes out of nowhere and asserts its presence. And we all know Thrawn's not a big fan of big giant super weapons. So
also true.
I think he could get a lot of wins, and then, they kind of like engineer his downfall. And I'm not convinced he dies in this thing, given that we have a whole broad story outside of the galaxy now. Yeah.
Well, to that point too, it would make Thrawn even more compelling if he wasn't the villain. And they've already planted the seeds for something similar to that, with, at least in Ahsoka, with the New Republic, where the New Republic doesn't even trust Ahsoka and Hera, who's a general at the time, to even think that it's possible Thrawn could still be alive. Like the New Republic is played up to be this blind government that's not even, there's no way that the Empire could come back. There's no way that this could happen. They have their issues, of course. They're not even fully expanded to the Outer Rim yet. There's still a lot of issues going on with the New Republic in general. When they find out about Ahsoka, when they find out about Leia and her backstory, we know how that goes. But it might just be Thrawn is just the replacement for the bad guy for now. He's not really a bad guy, but it's just the New Republic stupidity that shoots themselves in the foot and then that's how the First Order rises to power. And that would be awesome. It would add more to the First Order, add more to the sequels, add more to Mon Mothma as a character, being that she is the supreme chancellor. She'd be a lot like Valorum in the prequels, where she doesn't really have much power at all, and everybody around her is manipulating her, type deal.
Well, and also like in all of the Mandoverse, we're not overtly getting the New Republic's help in anything.
Yeah.
We're getting some people, a very small number of people in the New Republic kind of swooping in, maybe in an X-Wing or sending, the Ghost Crew or whatever to help with all of the stuff we've seen so far. So I think all of this Thrawn stuff could go down without the New Republic being involved in just like pieces of it, like the Ghost Crew or the people that are with Hera when she's obviously about to get censured.
Yeah.
Because now, what proof does she actually have? She has, Ezra Bridger's here. Like, still, okay, well, he's alive. So Thrawn might be alive, but we still have no proof. He's just telling us this. And that brings us to everything we've seen in the Mandoverse being we have the Mandalorians left, united. We have all of our characters who know each other, Boba Fett's, groups, whatever, all these people who have been handling business anyway. This conflict might not, spread to the New Republic yet.
Well, you bring up a great point. When we talk about Thrawn and who's going to defeat him or fight him, you talk about Mando, Grogu, Boba Fett, Cobb Vanth, Bo-Katan, the Armor, the Mandalorians. All those characters have nothing to do with the New Republic except for Din, who's working for the New Republic right now. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right. It sounds more likely that Hera will take the Ghost Crew and just go help the Mandos and all the other heroes, Fennec Shand and Boba Fett, and have them just take down Thrawn. And the New Republic might not have anything to do with it because they either don't want to help or don't believe that Thrawn's back or whatever it is. And that will just, again, prove how stupid they are and how blind they are and how easy it was for the First Order to rise to power.
Well, and then that might be how we get the birth of the Resistance, which is
exactly
canonically the people who would probably agree with Hera in this circumstance and say, dude, screw this. Like, we're going to form our own thing to go help him, which with that Akbar comment would make a lot of sense.
Well, even by the time of the sequel trilogy, it reminds me more of like Separatists versus the Republic in the Clone Wars than it does the original trilogy where the Empire has just fully taken over. Because you have the Resistance, which is like the Rebellion, but you also still have the New Republic during The Force Awakens. Like, it gets blown up and blown out of existence in The Force Awakens, but that government that's supposed to control the whole galaxy is still there by the time of The Force Awakens. The First Order is also there. So it's like two opposing forces like Separatists and Republic, but it's still there. So whatever happens over the course of these next 20 plus years, the New Republic is still a government that has control over a certain portion of the galaxy. And the First Order's rise to power won't be an Order 66 that happens in an instant. It'll be a slow rise to power over time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to touch on a couple things that I think Max had said something. I will disagree with you on this. I think Mara Jade is happening. I think we are going to get, at some point, we're going to get something in reference to her. But I also agree with you in reference to the senators. I can't pronounce them.
Ziono.
Yeah. I think he is on the take. I think he is an Imperial sympathizer, like Max said as well, and another Mike who loves Star Wars that put this up. And I think both of those could possibly very well happen if just the way that they treated Hera, like you guys were talking about, and not trusting her in reference to this. And then either that or they're going to shit themselves when they find out that Thrawn's back and they're like, oh, we were wrong and we should have started doing some preparation for this when you said something, and now we're caught behind the 8-ball.
Yeah, I think like Ziono, I don't think he's a sympathizer for the Empire or he's working for the Empire. I think it's more of like the Jedi Order in the prequel trilogy is very corrupt and they lie to Anakin all the time. They don't give him a seat on the council, like all this stuff. And that's what leads to Anakin's fall to the dark side. I think the senators, they're not working for the Empire. They're not physically trying to make the New Republic fall, but they're still doing it, if that makes sense. And that's how the First Order rises to power. Same way the Jedi Order is not trying to make Anakin fall to the dark side, but what they're doing does make that happen. So I don't think they're working for the Empire. I don't think they're bad guys, but they're just not good at their jobs, and it's going to end poorly.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
sorry, Nick. In Rogue One, when Jimmy and when Bal and Mon Mothma are talking, and the other senators are like, no, we can't do this. We can't send them off and go do that. So yeah, you could definitely be correct in that, where he's just like, no, I don't believe you. You're just trying to help your friend, or you think your friend's still alive. So, because again, these people are just like in Rogue One, they're sort of scared. They're like, well, we can't send everybody out to do this. We're trying to keep this, and they're gonna beat us because they're bigger already, and they know that. So if we send all our troops there, we're gonna be done. So I think that could be a good possibility as well, where he's just like, okay, yeah, no, I don't think so. You go do your job. We're going to do our job and keep everything safe and calm here. But they're not out in the real world dealing with some of these battles or seeing, these sympathizers for the Empire when they go to check on, what's her name's shipyard, before before they were turned into, before the Empire was destroyed. So I think that could definitely be a possibility as well.
I lean like 60-40 that Xiono's on the take. But I agree with you, Mike, that he kind of represents why they're failing, regardless. Like, so if he is on the take, then he's representing that they're corrupt enough to be infiltrated that far up. If not, he's kind of this mind that like, oh, now that we're just basically the Empire again, everything's fine. And, we're not going to do this. But there's also a component that hasn't really made it into the on-screen stuff yet, that the New Republic demilitarizes, which is a big reason why Leia says like, dude, we got to make the resistance, because they're demilitarized. There's something out there and we have to like be ready, like we always are. So then the Leias and the Akbars of the world kind of form the resistance. And like, I think in some of the comics, if Jacob's still here, he can let us know. But in some of the comics, and certainly some of the novels, they don't have like a Nuremberg trial in Star Wars. Like they don't do it. They don't really make, like we see it in, I guess, is it Mando season 3? Where they've like tried to rehabilitate people and they obviously aren't very well.
Yeah.
They've basically just replaced the logos, and then, not protected themselves. And they're kind of falling for this like utopia thing that they think they're building. And whether he's on the take or not, he's kind of representing that vibe, or at least like stopping them from being effective. There's a picture in a comic of like Mon Mothma shaking hands and like putting her hand on the shoulder of Mas Hameda, who is like, not to get weird, but like that guy deserves all the punishment in the world if you're finally overthrowing the Empire. So, and they just say, you know what, you're bad, but it's okay. and therefore that, First Order is just ripe for the picking. But
no,
it's
I absolutely no. Go
sorry.
ahead.
It's really easy then to say like, hey, look how ineffective this thing is. Didn't you like it when you had the big boy pants on, and then people go for it. So,
well, exactly. And going to something that Ron said too, in Rogue One, it's similar, but even in Andor season 2 did it perfectly, where when Cassian in the finale of the second to last episode, when he comes to them with the literally going, there's a Death Star, or there's a super weapon they're building, Galen Erso, Kyber crystals, Gorman, Jeddah, that's all connected, Saga, whatever. Like he's like, this is all connected. He's telling them the answers to the questions, and they all go, nah, we don't trust Luthen. Like, no thanks, whatever. That's Bail Organa. That's Mon Mothma. Those are people that we know, we like, but still they don't trust Luthen. They don't trust Cassian, and they're saying no to what eventually, for Bail Organa, kills him. the Death Star blows up Alderaan, and he was too stupid to see it, or didn't believe Cassian. It's not that he was stupid. He just didn't believe Cassian because he didn't believe Luthen. And that, I think, is going to be what happens to the New Republic. Much like Cassian coming to them and saying, this Death Star is being made, and they're going, no thanks. Hera goes to them and goes, Grand Admiral Thrawn's back. He's the heir to the Empire. And they go, no thanks. I think that's a very similar thing that just happens. It's history repeating itself, but it's the same people. It's still Mon Mothma. It's the same senators. It's the same people who made that rebellion, who made those same mistakes, who are still doing the same thing with the New Republic.
And
But
some of them,
But I think Mon Mothma, she doesn't want to give her cards away because, again, we still see her pull Hera aside.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, this thing with you and Leia, we got to get your story straight or whatever, and again, same with, again, that scene that we started this whole thing off with, she's the one, her and, Bal are like, hey, we're heading this thing up and we're not going to talk about it, but this is what we're doing. So I think that's a big part of it as well, that she does have, as much as we like her, she's still in that corner. And she's the one that's going to, bring the rebellion forward and do some of these other things where some of these other senators and people are not wanting to do this because they don't want to put their neck out there in case something does fall apart.
she's also terminally ill at this point too, which is an interesting. Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma.
In the novels, she's like chancellor or whatever, and she's terminally ill, and so
I didn't know.
yeah, I don't know when about. What's that?
I love learning this shit on the show. I had no idea. So, that's interesting.
I didn't know either.
Man.
What
Chewie knew. He's trying to tell us.
Is that in a book or a comic?
Yeah,
or what
I don't remember which book. It might be Bloodline.
Okay.
It might be, but there's something going on where she's sick. Sounds kind of like Star Wars cancer, and part of I think it's from Bloodline because Leia's like put up for like, we should elect you, and there's like two sides of the coin of like someone who prefers, planet's rights or Republic rights. Like, it's like a back and forth, and that's where Leia gets kind of blown up with the news of who she is. I don't remember where that occurs. I know that she gets in the throes of being the leader, gets kind of terminally ill, and then she dies. But I don't know if she's actually died in there yet or not.
Well, she was in Ahsoka, so she definitely hasn't died. But when she will die, because she's not in the sequels, that's a big indication of what she's gone by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bloodline occurs like later than Ahsoka, though. So
it does.
Like, I'm wondering, I don't know if they've written it in any of them, but anyway, I'm not saying that like diminishes her ability to make decisions, but it also kind of, she would, like Ron said, she would keep that close to the chest. I think she does in the story. But you're dealing also with this, like, if Mon Mothma survived it, she probably would have gone the resistance route, right? Like, she probably would have also stepped away with Leia. In which case, like, I don't know where it fits in the canon. If someone knows,
I'm looking now. It looks like she hasn't officially died in canon. She's just ill, and that's why she retired.
Yeah, and her big tough move, which is not a good look for her, was what Max Reba said: dismantling the military. It makes sense for them to be like, we're not going to become the thing we just destroyed. Is a good, like, hopeful idea, but they just have no idea that they're already all out there. Not to mention, if I was living in that world, I would assume all the very, very powerful crime syndicates got a lot more powerful while there was a vacuum. So, like, what are you going to, I don't know, but yeah.
I'm getting ready to put that up, Mike.
Yeah, I said something to Ron. So we talked about Skeleton Crew earlier, and I just wanted to let you know I found out where Neil has been this whole time. So Ron, you can show that if you want.
Let's see.
Oh boy.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
My man.
He's been hanging out with Bo-Katan.
Hey, I'm here for it.
Mhm.
So I just looked it up. It says the Bloodline book, or the yeah, I guess, yeah, it takes place 6 years before The Force Awakens. So this is still like 20 years past the Mandoverse stuff. So she's around for the long haul at least.
So that's
Sweet.
interesting that they do that and they put that out there that she is ill.
Well, it's still later on. So she's still going to be the Chancellor for a while, but
Right.
Mhm. And at some point they moved the capital. I don't know if they've written any
Yeah.
canon about that yet.
I haven't seen anything about it,
Yeah.
or why they did it. Like, that's the cool part, is that canon's not fully fleshed out here. So you could bring in Thrawn and have him do something with Coruscant, or whatever happens with Coruscant, even if it's unrelated to Thrawn, still figure that out.
That'd be a good, if he gets a big win by a successful siege of Coruscant and they have to move the capital,
Yeah,
that'd be a pretty big win.
that would be awesome.
But
And just to get to see a battle on Coruscant again, like we got in Revenge of the Sith, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
He did
I
say
like
a
that.
war in our Star Wars, so
It'll be interesting. And I think it's going to be almost like a two-part type of thing. I don't think
Yeah.
that they're going to just worry about Gardula the Hutt or who's the anyway, the
Stinky the Hutt, yeah.
Stinky.
Mhm.
Or that, if that isn't, even if they do something like that, which, man, I really hope they don't, because we've already seen that. But if they do, I think we're still going to have something that's going to be a little bit bigger than that. That might be like I think you had talked about it before, maybe like their first mission or something.
Yeah.
They go and take care of that, and then I think possibly that's when we get introduced to Thrawn, or somebody starts talking about Thrawn so that he knows what's going on, and we have to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I just seen this now. We started this live stream talking about politics in the prequel trilogy, and we talked about politics quite a bit. We've gone all over the place. But this person wrote, the politics of the sequel trilogy is honestly just as fascinating as the other eras in Star Wars, and I wish people knew about it. It's the fact that it's not been explored enough. Like, we've gotten politics a ton in the prequels because the Clone Wars has 7 seasons. We've gotten more of it in Rebels for the original trilogy time period, in Andor, in Rogue One. But they're absolutely right. The what we've been talking about right now with the New Republic in the First Order, all that politics stuff with Leia being forced out and Mon Mothma retiring, and all that's some like prequel level cool politics stuff that hasn't been explored yet, really, in animation or in live action or anywhere. Really, it was a little bit in canon books and stuff like the Aftermath trilogy and Bloodline. But once we get that, like, it'll be so much better, and we'll have more of a rounded out sequel era, if you will. But that all starts with this Mandoverse and establishing the New Republic and the First Order and all that. But absolutely, the politics of the sequel era and before it are just as cool as the other eras. They just haven't been fleshed out yet. So
No, I think we're going to definitely get that. And like we've talked about, whether it's going to be comic books or whether it's going to be these live actions or movies, we're going to get some of these answers in the comic books, the novels, the Maul series, all the Tales series, the different things like that. They've been doing a really good job of doing that. And I think, like we talked about, 20 years ago, everybody was like, oh, boo, the prequels, boo, the acting, this and that, and now everybody's in love with it again. The normie fans and some of the other fans. I mean, we all enjoyed it when it came out, and in the sequels, I mean, I'm guilty. They weren't my favorite, but as I continue to get more information about them, they do become. I'm fascinated in them a little bit more. Again, the cinematography and everything else was fantastic, but just some of the things I didn't agree with. But as we continue to figure out what's going on with Luke and why all these things had happened in this timeline, then hopefully we'll be able to I'll be able to feel a little bit more better about those 3 movies, which I'm continuing to do already.
Yeah. Could not agree more. And I saw somebody in the chat talk about Thrawn. Yeah, another Michael loves Star Wars. Thrawn needs to lose some weight. I hate that. You're talking about Thrawn, who, by the way, in Rebels, I just looked it up. He's in his late 40s, early 50s. You're talking about a 65-year-old Grand Admiral Thrawn in Ahsoka being having a little too much donuts on Peridia. What are we even talking about here? Sorry, he doesn't have a six-pack. Sorry, doesn't look like Chris Hemsworth over there.
Right. Or this little skinny thing that he does in animation.
Yeah, but that's because of the style of animation in Rebels. Like
Right.
everybody's skinny in Rebels.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and we had this chat, and you guys can go check it out. Which if you haven't already, we don't just do lives. Obviously, we have a whole bunch of interviews and stuff. And Chris Bartlett brought that point up. Who plays in pretty much everything that we've been talking about now, as C-3PO or many different droids. Where the live action, because a lot of people complained about the whole Cad Bane thing. You know, what Cad Bane looked like in animation and what he looked like in real life, and what these live actions in these movies, that's what these characters look like. And the animation is something that they've, brought into it. So again, until we get these live actions, so things might look a little bit different. And I think they've done a really good job of I think portraying these characters in live action and in animation the same way. But I thought that was a great point where he talked about that. And again, you have that Thrawn, like you said, he's a toothpick in the animation. So you're not going to have him look like that in this movie, or in Ahsoka. So I think that's a pretty cool analogy if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you have even Vader in Rebels has a completely different mask because they wanted to do more of the concept Vader. It's cool, but it's not the same Vader look. Like you can take a little bit of creative freedom when it comes to animation with some of that stuff too. Yeah. And by the way, Count Dooku's face isn't like this long and pointy.
Right. Man, this was a great podcast. Again, guys, tomorrow Mike's got his live podcast tomorrow and Saturday. He had one Tuesday, so Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, Eastern time, 1 o'clock, correct?
2 Eastern.
2 o'clock. Sorry, 1 o'clock our time here.
Yeah. And for everybody still watching too, there was a comment earlier about us doing like super chats and different things like that. In order for us to get to that point, you got to get monetized, which means everybody needs to go back and watch all of the old episodes. Leave them on in the background. We've got enough subscribers, but we need the watch time hours. It's how YouTube justifies that. So we're about halfway there. So go back, watch the old episodes.
Well, and these interviews that we've done, I mean, they're fantastic, and even the one with Nick Futterman, it's such a cool interview, and it's one of the lower ones. A lot of people haven't watched it. The James Lucino is just crushing, and I still get comments on it. It's just, and that's a really cool interview, just especially if you're a Plagueis fan, and all the other novels that he's written as well, which is really cool. And we have a couple other ones coming up. This has actually been the most people we've had on here for the longest time. So thanks everybody for being on here and commenting. And
thank you so much.
We really enjoyed sitting here and talking about this. And like Derek just said, tell your friends and like it, and go back and check some of these videos out, because they are really cool. That even the lives that we've talked about, I know Larry texted me today, he wasn't going to be able to watch. He's like, but I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow after it's recorded, which is cool. So again, everybody that's been on here, thanks. We've had a ton of comments. Max Rebo, Greg, another Mike who loves Star Wars, Steve, all you guys, Max and Greg, I love you guys just getting in here and commenting and everything like that.
Definitely.
Evan, Jacob, all you guys, Tim, Zima, thank you guys for commenting and joining and bringing up things that we get to talk about as well. I mean, again, we just crushed 2 hours worth, and we went from deleted scenes to games, which I thought was really cool. The whole thing that we've talked about these past 2 hours, and we'll do it again next Wednesday for sure. So thanks again everybody for joining us, and we will see you on the next Star Wars Jedi Chat. May the Force be with you.